Ffarquhar Fables. Read by TARDIS9. Hello and welcome to Ffarquhar Fables, the YouTube show where I read Thomas the Tank Engine fanfics. Now, these can be of any kind of genre. They can be creepypasta, they can be comedy, they can be set in the Railway series universe, they can be set in the TV series universe, they can even be, set in Series 25 universe if that is your thing, although I doubt very much that will happen. But anyway, let's move on to our first story called Who's Clarence? Written by Zack Wanzer and James Riddle. Arthur is a big red tank engine who runs on the branch line between Ballyhoo and Norramby on the eastern side of Sodor. He's a well-behaved engine who takes great pride and responsibility in his duties, although he can be a bit persnickety at times about how things should be run. Arthur runs the line with a yellow tender engine called Molly. By contrast to Arthur's occasional fussiness and tendency to nitpick the littlest of things, Molly is a much quieter, sensitive engine. But she will sometimes serve as a peacekeeper if arguments escalate. The Norramby line is on a coastal run leading up to the fishing village. Most engines find the scent of fish awful, but Arthur was one of the few who didn't mind it much. Some deliveries of fish were brought by him from Norramby up to Vickerstown for deliveries beyond Sodor on the Flying Kipper. This did not happen on a daily basis, but Arthur still relishes in the duty regardless. One afternoon, Arthur was waiting at Vickerstown with a passenger train for Norramby. A signal had failed, and Arthur was getting anxious about departing on time. "Oh, please hurry up," he begged. "I'm going to be late." Dennis the Diesel was shunting trucks in the yard and couldn't resist having a wisecrack about Arthur's situation. "Afraid that you'll miss seeing the fish swim around the harbour, Artie," he joked. "You know I hate being called that, Dennis," retorted Arthur. "And besides, I pride myself on running my trains on time, even if my motion was shattered." "Pride's just nothing but an excuse for engines to show off," snorted Dennis. "They push themselves too hard to look fancy, and then they get into trouble. You ought to take my advice and just learn to take life more easy." "That's what happened with someone I knew back on my old line called Clarence," said Arthur. "Got him into trouble in the end." "Clarence?" Dennis wondered. "Who's Clarence?" Before Arthur could answer, the signal finally dropped. I have to head off now," he said. "Perhaps I'll tell you the next time I stop here." And the red tank engine puffed away quickly before Dennis had a chance to reply. "I wonder what's eating him," pondered the grey diesel. As Arthur puffed along the Norramby line, he soon quickly forgot about the little slip-up he had made about mentioning this Clarence engine, whoever he was. Must keep to time," he said to himself. Arthur had made up some lost time as he reached Ballyhoo station. "Just a few minutes late," Arthur gasped to himself, looking at the clock. "No matter, I'll have made up for it when I reach Norramby." At that moment, Molly pulled in with a train of her own. "Hello, Arthur," she greeted. "How have you been?" "Doing quite well, thank you," said Arthur, looking rather distracted. Is everything all right?" asked Molly. "You're not looking yourself today." I think I've got something loose," Arthur lied. "I'll have to visit Victor later on." "You look in perfect shape to me," said Molly. though I reckon a quick trip to the steamworks won't hurt any engine. I'll bet you anything that James is once again there to have his paintwork polished, Arthur joked. Molly chuckled at this comment. Before long, the guard blew his whistle and she was ready to go. I'll see you later, Arthur, Molly promised and puffed away. Molly had made good time when she arrived at Vickerstown Station. As her passengers were disembarking from the coaches, she went to the turntable so she could be turned around for the return journey. The yellow tender engine noticed Dennis shunting in the yards, looking perplexed. Is something the matter, Dennis? Molly wondered. It's Arthur, admitted Dennis. Earlier he mentioned something about an engine named Clarence. Then, when I wanted to find out more, he seemed relieved to leave. Molly raised an eyebrow with curiosity. That's unlike Arthur to act like this, she said. Maybe it's about someone from his past he doesn't like to bring up. You work with him every day on the line, said Dennis. Surely he would have trusted you enough by now to tell you this kind of thing. Arthur's never mentioned anyone by the name of Clarence to me all this time I've worked with him, said Molly. It's time we found out why. Meanwhile, Arthur was shunting trucks at the fishing village. He was trying hard to forget about the whole Clarence ordeal, but he wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. He was so distracted that he gave his trucks an extra hard bump. Hey, watch it! The truck in front of him snapped. You trying to spill some of our fish onto the ground? Oh, sorry, Arthur cried sheepishly. I don't know what is up with me today. Once he had collected his bearings, Arthur steamed away with his train, hoping not to have another mishap like that again. That evening, Arthur returned to the sheds. Oh, all I need now is a good long sleep, he yawned. He had barely fallen asleep when Molly backed into the berth next to his. Tiring day, Arthur? She asked. Oh, yes it was, the big red tank engine replied, not even opening his eyes. And tomorrow will be another day of hard work. You say that every evening, Molly mused. She paused before choosing her words carefully for what she was about to say next. You know something that I really don't like? What? Asked Arthur. Dishonesty, Molly admitted. Whenever someone lies to me or hides a very serious secret, it makes me feel betrayed, because dishonesty is sometimes a sign that someone isn't really that good a friend towards you. Let me give you an example. Imagine an engine is being bullied. Instead of reporting the bullies, that engine decides to keep the problem a secret and begins to make the other engines miserable in a misguided attempt of self-defense. It's that type of dishonesty that can make a problem worse than it starts out and turn a good engine bad. That's why it is always best to tell the truth. Arthur had been rather quiet during Molly's speech. It would seem this had given him something to think about. Believing that her words hadn't worked, Molly began to close her eyes for the night when... Molly? The yellow engine opened her eyes again and looked towards Arthur. Before I give you my explanation, what was it that prompted you to tell me that? I spoke with Dennis at Vickerstown, and he said you mentioned someone by the name of Clarence, explained Molly. Who was Clarence, Arthur? Arthur hesitated for what seemed like an eternity. At last he responded with, You're looking at him, Molly. Molly looked confused. "But how?" she asked. "Isn't your name Arthur?" "Well, yes, but I wasn't called Arthur when I first entered service," the red tank engine explained. "And believe it or not, I was a tender engine back then as well, a far different engine from what I am today." "Whatever happened to you?" Molly asked. "When I was called Clarence, I was a very reckless and irresponsible engine when I was first built," said Arthur. "I sometimes didn't want to even do certain jobs and tried to get engines on my old railway to do it for me instead. That would one day get me into trouble. I got into a severe accident, resulting in my old tender being scrapped. I thought I would never work again when that happened." "How awful," murmured Molly. "But fate decided that I deserved a second chance," Arthur continued. "So I was rebuilt into a tank engine. Seeing this as a chance to change my life for the better, I renamed myself Arthur, requested a different coat of paint, and dedicated myself into becoming a hard worker who followed all the rules so as to redeem myself for my past behavior." "Why didn't you tell us this sooner?" Molly asked. "Because I was ashamed of how I used to act," Arthur admitted. "And I was afraid that if anyone found out about my past, they would make fun out of me." There was silence once again. It seemed like ages before Molly finally made her response. "Arthur," she said, "I would never make fun of you for who you were. If anything, I too was a different engine before I came to Sodor." "You were?" asked Arthur with surprise. "Did you used to be a tank engine before being rebuilt?" "Not like that," said Molly, chuckling slightly. "When I first entered service, my name was Marvin." She paused to let Arthur register what she was implying about herself. You used to be a boy." "And I was rather unhappy during that time," Molly admitted. "I even contemplated self-scrapping at my lowest." "No," gasped Arthur. "You didn't." "I'm afraid so," confessed Molly. "But one day, while I was being given an overhaul, I woke up and realized that somehow the workmen had changed me from a boy to a girl. After that, I changed my name to Molly, and I began to feel much happier." "Have you told anyone about it when you first came to Sodor?" asked Arthur. "Well, I think I told a few engines," admitted Molly, "but they never judged me for it. And I'm sure that they won't judge you if you tell them your secret as well." I suppose so," Arthur decided. "But why don't I tell them tomorrow?" "Good idea," smiled Molly. With that, the two friends called it a night and went to sleep. Early the next morning, however, things began to go wrong. Arthur puffed into Vickerstown Station when he saw Rosie. "Rosie?" he asked with surprise. "What are you doing here? Aren't you meant to be working on Thomas's line?" "I was," Rosie admitted. "But then Dennis told me about this new engine, Clarence, coming, so I wanted to welcome him." Arthur couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Dennis said what?" he gasped. "Oh no, this is bad." Everywhere Arthur went, he could hear others asking about this new engine. At long last, Arthur came across Dennis taking his usual nap. "Wake up, you!" Arthur snapped. The grey diesel groaned as he opened his eyes. "Could you keep it down, Artie?" he grumbled. I've worked hard all morning and I need my beauty sleep. What's the big idea spreading rumours like this? Arthur demanded. How dare you mention to everyone about a new engine when it's not even true? How was I supposed to know we weren't getting a new engine? Dennis retorted. You're the one who told me about Clarence without properly stating what you meant. Now I have to straighten this out, Arthur grumbled. Exactly who did you tell this to? Whatever engines managed to pass me by, Dennis admitted. Well, that doesn't help much, does it? Retorted Arthur. Which engine specifically? Well, there was Rosie, Whiff, Murdoch, and I believe the trucks overheard this too. Oh no, Arthur thought to himself. Trucks will say anything, and soon the whole island will fall for this misunderstanding. Before Dennis could talk again, Arthur raced away. Well, he's in a right hurry today, Dennis muttered to himself. Oh well, back to my nap. Arthur, meanwhile, soared down the main line. I must tell Sir Topham-Hatt before this rumour spreads any further, he panted. I just hope that Murdoch and Whiff were the only other engines to have heard about it. Arthur came across Whiff collecting rubbish at Kelsthorpe Station. Hello there, Arthur, Whiff greeted. Have you heard any news about this new engine, Clarence? I have, said Arthur. But who did you tell about this? I ran into Stanley on the way here, Whiff explained, so I told him about it. Well, I'm sorry to say that there is no new engine coming at present, Arthur stated, puffing off again. I'll explain it fully later. The red engine had already left before Whiff had a chance to respond. What's gotten into him? Arthur was in such a hurry to clear this misunderstanding up that he wasn't watching where he was going. Up ahead, Murdoch had been stopped at a signal. Suddenly, he heard a familiar whistle from behind. Arthur finally looked ahead and saw Murdoch's train in his path. Look out! He cried, braking hard. Thankfully, the signalman switched the points just in time to avoid a collision. What are you playing at, Arthur? Murdoch demanded as Arthur slowed to a stop next to him. You could have caused an accident. I'm terribly sorry about this, Murdoch, said Arthur. I was in such a state after hearing Dennis spread rumours about this Clarence nonsense. You've heard of this new engine too? Murdoch asked. There is no new engine named Clarence, Arthur insisted. It's a long, complicated story, but I'll explain it better once you and everyone else who had heard of this are gathered back at Vickstown Station. Okay then, said Murdoch. Before long, engines and people had gathered at Vickstown Station as requested. Sir Topham-Hatt was among the gatherers. I've heard, he began, that everyone has been talking about a new engine named Clarence coming to Sodor. I can assure you that is not true. However did this rumour get started? Allow me to explain, sir, said Arthur. So the big red tank engine told everyone the whole story of his past life as Clarence. Everyone was rather surprised to hear this. So that's what this whole thing was about, Dennis asked. Why didn't you just tell us Clarence was your previous name? I was too ashamed and afraid of being made fun of, Arthur confessed. I thought that if everyone knew who I used to be, they would call me a hypocrite on how I tried to follow all the rules nowadays. Nobody's perfect, Arthur, Rosie insisted. We all have our embarrassing faults. But the best thing to do is not let them get the best of you. Just be happy for the good you accomplish, and people will accept you no matter what. Hearing this made Arthur feel a bit better. And to think, he said, this whole misunderstanding could have easily been prevented if I had just owned up sooner. But from now on, I promise never to keep secrets like that again. That evening, Arthur was parked at his shed with Molly. "Feel better to finally get that out of your system?" she asked. "Much better," Arthur smiled. "Thank you for convincing me to tell everyone." "I'm just glad to help my friend out," said Molly. "You probably would have done the same thing. Hopefully, this kind of thing never happens again." "And hopefully," Arthur added, "Dennis will learn not to spread rumours like that without thinking properly." "You can say that again," Molly chuckled. "Though if he doesn't straighten up, what say we do to him what Gordon did to Thomas when he got a little cheeky?" Arthur laughed. "I think that would be going a bit overboard," he insisted. "But it is worth a tease, Fred." The two engines laughed and went to sleep. And I'm happy to say that after this, Arthur would never keep an important secret like that again. Whenever anything came up, he would be sure to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Arthur could only hope that other engines would follow his example and become more honest and open as well. But we can't always get what we want, can we? That was Who's Clarence? It was written by Zack Wanzer and James Riddle, and read by TARDIS9. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. I'm quite excited for this, really, as I've never actually done a full-on YouTube series of my own before. Although I do still have plans for a few of my own. And yes, I can confirm that the Vicarstown Railway Museum series I have in mind is still going to come into production. It's still going to be released, and it should hopefully enter production very soon. Although I cannot confirm a release date, so I'm still going to say summer would be about the time you'd expect to see any episodes for it. Because naturally, well, you know, my university career. And also there's the fact that I've become a published author, for which I hope you've seen the advert at the beginning, and if you have, and if you want to purchase one of my books, please, 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 I would really appreciate it if you guys would leave a review on Amazon there for those books, as I just love writing stories, and I'd really love to enter it as a career, as well as teaching. And that, because of my postgraduate degree, is kind of the main reason as to why I can't really give any specific dates for the projects I have in mind. Except maybe for this series. I think as long as you guys keep sending in the fanfics, you can anticipate sending it. I can anticipate usually a new episode about maybe every Saturday or so. Although naturally I may have to take a few breaks sometimes. I hope you guys understand. And also I can confirm that, well, the Doctor Who fanfic, the Vicarstown Railway Museum series, the Tug stories, and this series, well, they're not the only things I have in the works at the moment. I am also currently writing a new railway series style volume of my own, in honour of the 1-year anniversary of the YouTube adaptation of my first volume, The B-Class Bullies. I must warn you in advance that this one is going to be pretty dark, as it covers themes such as, well, disability, homelessness, as well as age, illness, and, well, self-esteem. So, if you do tune into that, please listen to it with an open mind. And please, well, be discreet. I am also currently gathering ideas for a completely new railway-based series of my own, which has absolutely nothing to do with Thomas the Tank Engine, except maybe for the whole talking trains shebang. I'm not going to give any more details about it so far. All I'll say is that it is set during the modernisation plan. I want to say thank you very much to Zack Wanzer, I hope I pronounced that name right, for recommending this story to me on Sodor Island forums, as I think it really, well, delivers the whole point that, well, we may well have been bad people in our past, but if we're willing to make those changes for the better, I think we can really reveal ourselves to be good people. And for what poor Molly must have gone through back when she was called Marvin, well, that just really got me there. I mean, let's face it, we're all different people at points in our lives. Sometimes, the best thing we can do is just to move on from our past and look to the future. And I think especially in the light of COVID-19 and with the new vaccines being approved, that is about the only thing we can do at this moment. But I hope all the same, no matter how bad the suffering, no matter what everyone goes through, no matter what losses we may suffer from the virus, I just hope that the work I do for you guys, be it on here, on Sodor Island forums, or on Amazon, I just hope that it allows everyone to escape from this world that we inhabit at this moment, even just for a few brief seconds. Dry rails and good running, everyone. And if you enjoyed this story, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more great content. Let's see if we can hit 1,000 subscribers.